Discipline is the key. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about how Dre Baldwin helps sales professionals, individuals like you and me, to establish discipline and how this discipline leads to money. Check it out. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist Podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On this episode, we have Dre Baldwin coming in the house, and Dre and I are going to talk about one of the things that he's using right now. It ties back to his book, but it's called The Third Day. This is a strategy that Dre explains in this content, in this episode today, and how this can help us as individual sellers, as sales leaders, and just all around help us to be able to really thrive and to be able to be disciplined and see success in our field of discipline and also in our personal life. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, you got to subscribe. The show is designed to do two things. One, help you to 3 to 5x your sales pipeline with quality opportunities. And two, we want to help you to just close more deals. Like all of our content tie back to that. And the stuff that Dre's talking about today is going to help you not only with the top of the funnel, but also to help you to close deals, because we're going to help you make sure you understand how to put discipline in place and how the system can help you to really, really, really thrive. Listen, I'm not going to take up much more time. Dre got it, and I'm going to dive in. You'll get a chance to hear about his backstory. He came on a podcast a while back. He has multiple books that he's written. He's a speaker, an influential speaker, a keynote speaker. Dude works with individuals on a personal level, works with organization, and all around this idea of helping you build habits that makes you perform. He's a professional basketball player. He was a professional basketball player and played a top-notch level. And the things that he learned and the things that he's shared with his clients over the years are just like amazing, and they're simple to implement. And when he guides you and you listen to it, you're like, man, I can do this. And you just get pumped up to go out and do stuff. So listen to what Dre has to share and see how this can help you. The third day concept. Dre, welcome to the show.
I'm excited to be here, Donald. How are you?
Doing well, man. I'm excited to have you back on a podcast. It's been a minute, and you always bring this energy and excitement and just get people pumped up. So I'm sure by the time we get done, several of us are going to want to run through some walls.
Not me.
And, it's like, I ain't about that. I'll get you guys excited. But I bragged about you a little bit in a teaser there, telling our audience a little bit about you. But some of our folks that probably didn't connect with you last time or didn't, just started listening to our show recently. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about you and what you do, man?
Yeah, 2-minute version. Come from the city of Philadelphia, now based in Miami, Florida. Always played sports growing up. Got around to basketball about age 14, which is pretty late if you're trying to go somewhere with sports. Only played 1 year high school, walked on to play Division III college ball. Then getting out of college, nobody was checking for me to play pro. Hustled and sold my way, basically marketed and sold my way into a pro opportunity, which started a 9-year career. Playing mostly overseas, mostly in Europe, most of my career. At the same time, that same year, 2005, I started putting videos on this brand new website called youtube.com. That you can put as much content up there as you want for free. So I started putting a bunch of basketball videos up. About 4 or 5 years into that, the ball players just started asking questions about the mindset because they heard about that same background I just told you. How this guy who came from such humble backgrounds even keep trying to make it as a pro. So I started talking about things like discipline, confidence, mental toughness, things we're going to talk about here today. And the players appreciated it. And also because I was putting those videos out on YouTube, people who didn't play ball started seeing that and said, well, Dre, I'm not interested in how to do the Kobe Bryant move, but that thing you're talking about, mindset, that stuff applies to me, and I don't even play sports. So that's what told me that could be possibly my segue into building an audience that were not just interested in sports, playing sports. So I started serving that audience as well as my basketball audience during the second half of my playing career, because I kept playing until 2015. So when I stopped playing in 2015, which is around the time that we first connected, that's right. When I dropped the basketball part, and I've been doing that stuff. So mindset, strategy, systems, accountability for entrepreneurs and professionals ever since.
This is dope. This is amazing. Love it. And what I like about it too is you mentioned there's systems, and you've seen that system part of that process over and over again. Just like in sports or like anything, you gotta master a system to be able to become perfected at that craft. So I want to go into that. And one of the things that you're passionate about is this idea of the third day and discipline. When you think of Dre, I think about that concept. Can you go ahead and tell me a little bit about this idea of the third day, and then we can break everything down with that?
Sure. So where the third day came from was probably around 2013, 2014, because at this time I had a big audience of mostly ball players, or a lot of my audience were ball players, and they would watch these videos I put out every day of me just showing them how to do drills and how to actually practice basketball. And I would be in this gym that's actually not far from where I sit right now in Miami. Everybody knows where this gym is. And it seemed like I was always in the gym by myself because you only heard one ball. It was just mine. You didn't hear any other balls bouncing. And anybody knows anything about basketball knows that, especially in America, because basketball is so popular, it's hard to get a court to yourself because everybody's trying to play. So people were just interested, like, Dre, how do you always have the gym to yourself? Like, do you own the gym? Is it attached to your house? Do you rent it out so nobody else can use it? How are you always in the gym by yourself? So from there, I started explaining to them this concept called the third day. And I explained to them that everybody in Miami knows where this gym is. If you watch one of my videos, you live in Miami, you know exactly what gym that is. You know exactly where it's at. I'm basically, somebody once said, Dre, you're easy to assassinate because you got the same schedule all the time. You're easy to find. Everybody knew exactly where I was at. But nobody ever came into the gym. And I explained to them that, on the first day, let's say you introduce someone to a gym that they could use. First day, everybody's there because everybody's all excited to work out. Workout's hard, but everybody's there. Second day, a little bit fewer people, not as excited, not as early as they were on the first day. And by the third day, people stop showing up. And the whole concept of the third day is all about once you get into a situation that you voluntarily signed up for, whether it be a business, whether it be a partnership, whether it be having kids, whether it be going to the gym, working out, starting a podcast, that eventually it comes to a point where the new car smell wears off. The welcome party is over, and you realize that this thing that I signed up for is not one big celebration. There's some actual work that I have to do here. And that's the third day. The moment that you realize that is the third day. And what the third day is really about is not the experience of that happening, Donald, but it's the decision that you make when it happens. What are you going to do now? Are you going to continue to show up and give your best effort even when you don't feel like it? Or are you going to kind of tailor off and not really show up when you don't feel like it? And the reason why the subtitle of that concept is the decision that separates the pros from the amateurs is because when you're a professional, meaning you're getting paid to do something as a full-time vocation, you don't have a choice. You have to keep showing up. Otherwise, you're going to stop getting paid. So professionals have to show up when they don't feel like showing up. So even if the professionals listening to this never put a name to this situation, now I'm giving you a name to it. It's called the third day, and that's what it's all about.
So there are three parts to this idea of the third day, which we talked about. One of them was it's not about motivation, but Correct. It's about discipline. Do you mind talking to that for a little bit?
Absolutely. And even though going back a little bit in the story. So when I told you I started making those videos talking about mindset for the ball players and then the non-athletes start finding it, those videos were called the weekly motivation. It was literally called the weekly motivation. And I did those 400 weeks in a row. It really is what became the foundation of what I do now. And I'm saying that to help people understand I'm not against the concept of motivation. Right? I will use it because people get it. When they hear motivation, they know what it means. But at the same time, when you're a professional, you can't depend on motivation because motivation is inconsistent. Right? There are days when all of us, we feel motivated. We wake up, we just have a lot of energy. Maybe you got a great full night of uninterrupted sleep. You got some positive things on your calendar. The day before was great and we're motivated. We're excited to work. But there are other days when it's the exact opposite. All right, the previous day was terrible. The day in front of you doesn't look too good. You didn't sleep too well the previous night, but you still have to go to work. So what are you going to do on that day when you're not motivated? Right? You still have to show up and you have to deliver. So what I explain to people is that the hallmark of the professional is that they're disciplined, not necessarily motivated. Because some days you will be motivated, some days you won't be. But as a professional, again, as we just talked about, Donald, you don't have the choice of whether or not you show up and whether or not you deliver, because if you stop delivering, they're going to stop paying. Whether those be your customers, your clients, the marketplace, your boss, whoever, they're not going to pay you if you're not delivering. So I tell people motivation is for amateurs. If that's what you're aiming, if that's what you're looking for, you're an amateur. Because amateurs have the option of not showing up when they don't feel like it because nobody's paying you. So if you don't show up, nobody can complain. But as a professional, you have to show up because they're paying you. So once you accept the dollar, now you got to do the job.
So, but how do you get to that level? Maybe I'm not being paid for it yet, but I want to get to that level. How do I gain that discipline to become to become as a professional? You
got to treat your work like a profession even before it is one. And that's just something that even if we go back to the basketball days, that's what I was doing as an athlete when I was looking for my opportunity to play, or in between opportunities. So people don't know the pro athlete world. There are times you're in between jobs. You had your last job ended, but the next job didn't start yet. But you still have to keep working out until the phone rings again. Same thing that an actor or an actress has to do in between jobs, or even a politician, let's say sometimes. In between jobs, you have to stay ready for that situation. So in other words, you have to treat your job as a profession even before it becomes one, or even if it's not one right now, which means you have to have a schedule, follow the disciplines, show up consistently. I even tell this to Donald. Sometimes I'm talking to entrepreneurs who they have a side gig business, but they still work full time, but they're trying to build up their side gig business so that it can make enough money that they can drop the full-time job. And I explained to them, okay, so you can only work 3 hours a day outside of your full-time job commitments. Those 3 hours, you need to schedule it the same way you would if you were doing this as your full-time job. So even if it's only 3 hours, it should be a regimented, disciplined 3 hours, because that's the only way you're going to turn this side gig into a real business.
And I feel like that part there's where many people drop the ball on it. Like they say it's just a side gig, or it's just this, so it's not that important, not that impressive, not that critical. And then you behave though according to that. And what I like about what you're saying with those 400 videos, you weren't maybe a YouTube sensation yet when you did 400 weeks. Was it 400 weeks? You said
400, 400 weeks in a row. Yes.
Like it wasn't like all of a sudden you big and out there, but you just figured, hey, I'm going to put this out there. I know what's going to happen, and I'm not sure if you even knew it was 400 weeks, but you knew that in the future people are going to see this. So therefore, that audience is coming. I need to make sure when I'm becoming who I want to be in the end. And I find that many of us look at it and say, well, I want to be the number one, and I'm not there right now. Therefore, it's okay to be crappy and not do anything and not treat it as important, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, and that gets into another concept. I don't know if this is in your notes, but we call it the separation day.
Yes, let's go. Let's go.
Right. So the separation day is all about when you reach that third day situation that, let's keep it on where we're at. So let's say you have someone with a side hustle and they can only give 2-3 hours a day. And there's 1,000 other people with a side hustle. They can only give 2-3 hours a day. And you don't really want to treat it all the way. You don't want to put that full effort into it because it's not making you any money yet. It's only producing $100 a month. It's not anywhere close to replacing your job yet. But the other person who is treating it, they regiment it. They're showing up every day. They have a schedule. They know exactly what they're going to do with that 3 hours, and they're getting some real substance out of that 3 hours every single day. Every day that they show up and do their regimented work and you do your haphazard work, there's a little bit of separation that occurs between you and them. Now, it's so minuscule that you can't really tell the difference. It's not like your little side hustle falls apart and theirs blows up the next day just because they worked and you didn't. That's not what happens. But each day, there's a little bit of difference between them and you. And over time, that difference, just like compound interest financially, it starts to compound. And over time, the gap between the person who is showing up and the person who's not showing up becomes so big that you don't even realize that these two people used to be on equal footing. That's what the separation day is about. It's basically the result of what happens when you show up on the third day or you don't show up.
Come on. I love this, man. I love this separation. Make a little note about that. But this is good. How does this tie, Dre, to the anchor concept?
Well, the anchor is all about what do you care about strongly enough that you are willing to endure and go through the discipline in order to get the outcome. So some people may call this, what is your why, or what's your reason? So the anchor is just that thing. What is the outcome that I want to get? So for example, let's say somebody hates the gym. They hate doing burpees. They hate doing kettlebell swings, and they hate cardio. But they want to lose 30 pounds because their wedding's coming up in 6 months. But they care enough about looking good in those wedding photos or walking down the aisle at the wedding that they are willing to endure the things that they hate, the kettlebell, the burpees, and the cardio, and the trainer telling them what to do. They're willing to endure that stuff because what they want, the lost weight, is stronger than the desire of what they hate, which is doing the workout. So the anchor is, what is that thing you care about enough that you're willing to endure stuff that maybe you don't like that much?
Awesome. How do I discover my anchor if I'm an individual? What
question.
Do I find?
Great question. So one of the techniques, I didn't come up with this, but I'll take credit for it, is every time, well, you ask yourself, what is it that I want? What's the outcome that I want? So somebody may say, I want to lose 50 pounds by my wedding day. Well, why does that matter? And they're going to give you an answer. Then you ask, why does that matter? Why does that matter? And what I've heard is that if you ask the question why 6 times, eventually you get to a root, deep emotional reason. And that's usually the real thing that'll move people to action, because we all know, I mean, you're the sales evangelist, so you know that people are more moved by motivation than they are by logic. So if you ask a person, they say they want to do something, you ask them why, usually their first answer is something logical, something topical, something that sounds good and it makes sense. But if you keep asking, eventually you get to the emotional reason, which is the reason that usually most people are not so open to sharing, but it is a real thing and is the real thing that drives them. And we know that if you want to move somebody to action, you have to trigger them emotionally, not just logically. Most people do not take action based on logic, but they will take action based on emotion.
I love that. They take action based on the emotion side of it. So like, let's say I'm a leader in a sales team or just a leader in a company. How do I help my individuals in my organization develop that why? Because maybe they don't even realize they need to have that why or that anchor. How do I help them to discover that? And is that even something that you should be doing? Should they come with it on their own?
No, absolutely. You should be doing it. And this is something that I would suggest any leader does with a team of people who is working with or for them, is have conversations with the people on your team and ask them, why are you working there? What do you want? What do you want to get out of this? Because most people, of course, people work at a place because they want to make the money, but usually people have bigger reasons than that. Or why do you want the money? All right. So again, you just start asking those whys. Why do you want this money? Why does that matter? All right. You want to pay your bills. Why does that matter? All right. Why do these things matter? Eventually you get to what they really want. And if you're a leader of a team and you know what the real driving force is behind the people on your team, then you'll be better able to communicate with them about why they need to do certain things, helping them through challenges, helping them get through those third days and turn them into separation days for success. When you know what their anchor is and they know what it is and they've been able to verbalize it, especially when they've shared it with you, well, okay, now they can't not show up to it because they know they told you. So they basically are holding themselves accountable because they already know what they said to you and they know that you know, right? So all of that stuff matters. So this is why, so let me back up. If you have a team and you have people working with you, this is why you should get clear with them and help them get clear with themselves about why they're doing what they're doing and why it matters, because nobody works at a place just for the check. I mean, there are some people who do, but the type of people who are listening to this show are not that type. Yeah. You want to know the real reason.
Yeah, there's something you want to accomplish way more than that. And I love that to be able to do so. All right, so leaders, you got some ideas. Now, the part here, the third part of the third day that we were talking about too was strategic systems to get into the mindset. Mm-hmm. Can you go deeper into that with us on how do we get or start creating a strategic system so that we can accomplish this?
Absolutely. So the way that I help people craft a strategy is, first of all, we got to work backwards. So once we get clear on that anchor, what is the outcome that you want, the decision that you made? Let's just go with let's say the gym example. So the person wants to lose the 50 pounds by their wedding days in 6 months. So we know why they want to do it, because they want to look good in their pictures and they want to feel good because those pictures are going to be forever and they don't want to look in a way that they don't like in the photos that's going to be sitting on their coffee table forever. So, all right, how are we actually going to do that? And the question that I like to have people ask themselves is, what would need to be true? So for you to be, you're 200 pounds now, you want to be 150 pounds, what would need to be true? Okay, well, I would probably have to be working out consistently. What else would need to be true? I probably have to stop eating those Snickers bars and popcorn and cotton candy. All right, what else would need to be true? I probably have to stop sleeping in until 6:30. I got to wake up at 5:30 so I can get that hour to go to the gym before I go to work. What else would need to be true? And we keep asking those questions, and basically we're going to deconstruct going from point Z, which is the goal, the outcome, all the way back to point A, which is where we stand today. And when we get there, now we take everything that has been said in that process, and now we flip it upside down, and now we have our strategy. We have at least a framework, a skeleton of what we need to do in order to move forward. Now, those things to do may not be so easy to do. They are simple to understand, but then they may not be so easy to do, because to go to the gym and work out every day, well, if it was that simple, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You'd just be doing it, right? So, right. So now we got to figure out what is going to move you to work out, or what process that we need to put in place so that there's less friction between you and actually getting in the gym and actually doing the workout. Okay, where's the gym at? Who's going to be a trainer? Do you know what you do when you get to the gym? Do you know what you can do the night before so you actually have some energy for working out? What can you eat and drink in the daytime after your morning workout so that you're not crashing by 2 o'clock in the afternoon that day because you used up all the energy and burned all those calories. So now we have to figure out how can we make all these pieces work? Because again, we know what needs to happen, but now what pieces can we put in place that support those pieces? So the ancillary decisions and the ancillary pieces that support each step along the way, that's all part of creating the strategy. Now, once we have it working and we know that we can make this work, now the system is simply the mechanism that allows us to operate and execute that strategy over and over and over again. So the example I use for that is you look at a Starbucks or a McDonald's. If you go to one in San Francisco, you go to one in Seattle, you go to one in New York, go to one in Miami, the food or the drink comes out exactly the same, not because the people are geniuses, but because the system is genius. So the people just get plugged into the system and it produces the same outcome over and over again.
Oh, I love it. That system. If let's say if I'm starting from scratch today and I just did that example, I kind of had that inverted pyramid. I did all of that stuff, but still yet I feel like there's probably one part of that system that helps, and it's accountability and the mentor.
That's right.
Ship. Let's say I'm an individual sales rep listening to this, or just an individual that just listens to this. I'm like, what Dre's talking about is good. I'm not using it for sales, but I'm going to use it for my workout. I really want to get the 6-pack abs.
Yep.
How do we get accountability? How do we find somebody to be accountable to, minus calling you and getting that set up? Is there a way that we can have like accountability in place? And how important is accountability?
Well, it's extremely important. And this is the reason why it's one of the 4 pillars of what we do is the answer is you go find an expert who can help, who has the cachet and you have the respect enough for that they can hold you accountable. Because ultimately, we're talking about high level performing individuals like the people who listen to the show, Donald. We all have a pretty good idea of the things that we need to be doing, even if we're not doing them. All of us do. The accountability piece is what's going to help make sure that we are held to account to get those things done. And we are not getting lost in the weeds of doing nonsense that has nothing to do with where we're trying to go. And that accountability piece is a huge part. And it was actually, I was just writing a little bit about this today, is that high level performers, they see the value in accountability and they're willing to invest in accountability. Because even though they, quote unquote, already know what to do, I hear this from people all the time. I already know what I need to do, but they're not doing it. Then you need to do something about that. All right, that's an issue that needs to be resolved. And too often people will just say, well, I already know what I need to do, so I just need to. That's a phrase I hear all the time. I just need to. I just need to get motivated. I just need to work harder. I just need to just tell myself to do it. I just need to hold myself accountable. But that's not working. We already know that doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that's the whole problem. And every high level performer all have people who can hold them accountable. High level business people, entrepreneurs are in coaching programs, or they have coaches, or they're in some type of accountability program. High level athletes all have coaches. Every single one of them has a coach. Every high level professional athlete has a coach or a trainer, or often multiple coaches and trainers to hold them accountable in different aspects of their lives and to make sure everything works the way it's supposed to. Every business that performs at a high level, there is an accountability process that involves people to make sure this was done the right way. This is done. Is this fact checked? Is this, you got the quality control department in big companies. All of that is forms. All of those are forms of accountability, Donald. So I try to say this so many times to people. Why you would want to avoid putting yourself in the line of accountability, you're shooting yourself in the foot and you're setting yourself up for failure. Human beings all perform better when we know we're being held accountable than when we know we are not being held accountable. This is just human nature. All right, so don't work against your human nature, work with it.
I love it. Dre, this is like pure gold. If folks are out there listening, well, actually, I want you to wrap this up with an example, because you told me about one of your clients. Dude was trying to get, I think he was trying to get in shape or whatnot.
Yes.
And how he was, he's in finance and trying to get his life right. But he spent so much time doing work stuff that he put his family out of balance.
Right.
And situation with that, because I think this puts it in perspective that this system apply, whether you're professional, whether it's personal life, whether it's like your personal health. Can you tell us that story about him
Sure.
and how this third day concept helped him?
Sure. So let's call this guy Mike. It's not his real name, but let's say Mike. So Mike came to me. He was in my audience and knew about my material for some time. And once I got to know his situation, he told me, he said, Dre, I work in finance. I run my own place. He was doing great business wise. He was earning upwards of $600,000, $700,000 a year and increasing year over year. He was getting better. And he said, Dre, I don't need you to help me with making money because my background's not in finance anyway. So I couldn't have helped him with that. But he said, what I do need help with is everything around the making the money. Everything around my career is suffering right now because he was the type of guy, he was the top 1% performer, exact type of person I like to work with, because these are people who are already winning. They understand the value of investing in themselves, and they know how to win. So what he was doing was, he's a guy who would wake up, let's say his normal work hours are 8 to 5. He would get up at 4 a.m, get to the office at 6, so that he could do the extra work that most of his competition was not doing. Or he would stay till 7 to do that extra work. So because of this, he's kind of burning the candle at both ends. And the problem was, he wasn't spending as much time with his young child as he wanted to. And he had an older child, and he said, I don't want my younger child to get to the age of my older child, and I haven't spent any time with him. Then he moves out, goes to college, and I never even invested in this kid. Not spending as much time with my wife, so my relationship is suffering at home. And because I'm not working out, because I'm getting up early and going to work instead of getting up early and going to the gym, or I tell myself I'll go to the gym after work, but I'm so damn tired from working all day that I don't feel like working out, that I'm 40 pounds overweight. So, Dre, can you help me get all of the other stuff in order that has nothing to do with the work? And that's what we started working on. And one of the pieces is accountability. Because look, I can't stand next to his bed and make him get out of bed, right? If he doesn't want to get up, he's not getting up, right? So, but the thing was, Donald, what he wanted was, okay, Dre, look, and we talked about this, we worked this out. Like every day I'm going to send you a text message. I'm going to tell you what I ate, when I ate it, how much water I consumed, and that I got my workout in. And his thing was, me knowing, this is him talking, me knowing that I had to send you a message and tell you what I did and what I didn't do is a form of accountability for me, because he's, again, high level performers, this works for them. All right. This type of thing, knowing that I had to say it to you, I don't want to have to say to you, hey, I ate a Reese's cup and I didn't work out. Right. I want to be able to say to you, I got the workout in, I drank all this water because I told him he needed to drink more water because that'll help him lose weight and suppress his appetite. And I got out of the office on time. And of course, we ended up working on some people things as well, like people he needed to get out of his office and people he wanted to replace him with, communication skills, interpersonal things. But the key thing, the two key things I want people to take from this is, number one, is that I had no expertise in what he's an expert in. And he wasn't bringing me into being expert at what he was an expert in. He was bringing me into being expert at the things that he was not doing well. And he understood the value of that because of the level of performer that he was as a person, or he is. I mean, he's still alive. The level of performer that he is as a person. And high level people understand this, that it's worth it to invest in these things the same way that I'm sure people have heard LeBron James invest $1 million a year in his body. Right? If he didn't do that, he'd still be pretty damn good. Right. But he still makes the investment because he understands the value of maintaining this thing at this level, because that's the golden goose that lays all the golden eggs that allows everything else to exist. So, and Michael Jordan had a personal trainer. He had a trainer for his game. Why? Michael Jordan would still be pretty damn good without that guy. Right. That guy didn't make Michael Jordan, but Michael understood that investing in this is taking care of the golden goose that lays the eggs that makes everything else possible. So we all have to understand the value of that. And when you do, that's when you elevate to a higher level of performance.
Love it, man. Love it. Dre, people, I'm sure everyone's going to love this and they want to get back in touch with you. What's the best way for them to go about connecting with you?
Well, we have a book called The Third Day. Can I share that?
Yeah, man, for sure.
Sure. So this book, actually right here, Third Day, the decision that separates the pros from the amateurs. Everything we talked about here is covered in this book. I share with people a free copy of this. All we ask is that you cover the shipping. We'll send you a physical copy of it, paperback. Just go to thirddaybook.com. The book is free. Just cover the shipping, and it covers everything that we talked about here. And as far as outside of that, well, once you get that book, you'll be on our email list, and I send emails out like every day. So you'll know everything you got going on. And also, I'm on all the socials, probably most active on Instagram at just my name, at Dre Baldwin, and everywhere else. If you like LinkedIn, whatever you like, I'm on all of them active.
Well, Dre, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Thanks for helping us with this, and we look forward to getting that third day in place.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on, Donald. Thanks for sharing your platform again.
Man, I'm telling you, wasn't that good? Wasn't that good? Oh man, if you want to get some more of this stuff, go ahead and check out with a gift that Dre has. You can get that book. Like you said, you can get you get the book for free, but just pay for the shipping. And he also has an amazing YouTube channel where he, like you mentioned, 400 weeks. That dude was just putting out content, and this goes back to you can see the results from the stuff that he's had, and it is consistency. Like everything that he does ties back to these principles, like just being consistent, being able to commit to something, and just following that process time and time again leads to amazing results. And I want the same for you. I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. Most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking. I want you to go out and do big things. See you on the next one.